Welcome to Still with Purpose. This is Amanda and Christy.
Our goal is to dig deep and discuss real, raw subjects in pursuit of greater self-awareness, positive transformation and healing, and to link arms and journey with you to find purpose and passion in life. Hi, everyone. Today we are talking about the question, how much peace have you traded trying to control what God already promised to handle?
All right, the quote is, "Today is full. I will not pack it with tomorrow's worry." This is an idea that I've heard pretty much my entire faith walk and journey. Basically, fear, worry, and future forecasting is not to be done ever. And yet it has been the hardest thing for me to eliminate completely and has a plan for us. So the real question is, do we truly trust that God has us and a plan for us? If not, then why not? For me, when I'm not trusting, it's because I know that He's allowed things to happen in this world. You know, He's stood by, per se. That's the perception of it instead of fixing it. And we've seen bad things happen to good people, right? From His perspective, He didn't make us robots. That would be a huge disservice for Him to make us robots, tell us to bow down to Him, and we don't really have a choice, right? We're going into just idolization, not really having a relationship. Instead, He gave us full access to Him and full freedom to choose out of any and all that He has to offer us. That's interesting, right? So now we're complaining about having full decision, full choice. I think I wonder if it just comes down to we don't trust ourselves.
The quote is saying, today is full. I will not pack it with tomorrow's worry. But what I'm hearing is by following our own decisions and choices and will, that creates the worry. Hand it over to God and basically give up our free will because we just want whatever God has in store. There's no reason to worry.
Correct. And this really hit home in a Bible study group I was in. So we're just studying different parts of the Bible, and it just stood out to me. They talked about daily bread. He's not going to give you one answer for tomorrow. In fact, He gave daily manna. And when they tried to store up the manna for tomorrow, it spoiled. And it finally clicked. I think we were talking about this last week of you could hear the same sermon 90 times, and the 91st time you finally click with what He's saying. So I finally got what daily bread meant. He really is not going to go outside of today. So you can choose in and have the most joy-filled, awesome day and journey with Him, or you can choose absolute chaos, fear, trembling, trepidation, all the future fears that we can think about. And He's not going to give us any answers for that. He's dealing with just today.
It's so weird to bring up the manna story because literally that's where I'm at on my audio Bible. And just last night I heard that when they tried to keep the manna, it got worms and it stunk. Saying it spoiled is a light way to say it because when I heard that again, it really stuck with me. I was like, man, it got worms and it stunk.
Yeah.
So to say it hit home, like, yeah, we can't save it up. God wants us to just one day at a time.
Stop asking for more than what we're doing today together. It finally got through my brain.
And stop worrying about tomorrow. So they were saving it up because they were worried about not having enough for tomorrow.
Yes. And in the story, He gave plenty. They could eat to their heart's content. It's not like they were just getting a lunch here and there. They had all the manna they wanted.
I think it was based on each person's appetite, as much as each person could eat.
It was intricate. There's no reason to fight over this, guys. I've given you all plenty.
That also goes back to He knows us so well. He knows exactly what each one of us needs.
Yes. And we don't believe it. And until you grow that faith or get really clear on this, you guys, I'm in my 50s and I'm finally getting the simple thing that He has clearly stated since I was a kindergartner that He is only going to work with today. This has been game changer for me because I have definitely pulled out of fear fiercely because I'm just like, well, I could worry about how I'm going to pay my bills tomorrow, or I could just do what He has on my plate today
I think it's interesting though. Last week we talked about your son making a decision to go and join a program for 3 months. Like, obviously, that decision set him up for the next 3 months. And we make decisions all the time that we feel God is calling us to do that are going to affect our future. So I don't think we're saying you can't think about the future and what you're doing today. How is that going to affect the future, perhaps? But the worry, I think it's
Yeah.
worrying and trying to control the future by saving up the manna in that case, that God's like, no, let me do that.
Yes. And it's the fear and the
Mhm,
thinking and the toiling and the fear.
mhm.
And if you're living from fear, love and fear cannot be in the same space. So, whatever one you're choosing into, you're receiving all that comes with that choice. It's a quick switch. Oh, I'm feeling fearful. God help me. And
Yeah.
then you move on.
This has been a hard one for me because I am such a planner and I think so far down the road and I worry about what's going to happen in the future. And so it's been a hard one for me to really wrap my head and my heart around, but it
For
does
sure.
alleviate a lot of stress and worry and angst.
Well, then you're adding people into the mix as well, right? And what if they don't have that strong faith and now their fear is creating an unsafe place for you to be around, or it's creating fear in you to hang around that person? And that's why we always say choose your friends wisely, because you will become like them. Another example would be when I'm not trusting God, is that I'm left to myself. I'm completely self absorbed with no accountability. He truly wants to be in the lives that choose him, not just do it out of obligation or to get things from him. The other way that I show distrust is I start thinking, oh, he's got plenty to do. He's got a whole world of prayers coming at him. And my requests or needs are so not important compared to the rest of the world and what's going on in the world. This is a worthiness issue because he has more than enough. He's the most abundant God there is. In fact, one of the things I really dislike doing is asking for someone's time and space, especially when I'm struggling and in the pit and being negative, because I don't want to take their joy and their energy by my stories or sharing. I don't want to be labeled as negative and a drainer, but I end up being one because I'm going through it alone again. I end up becoming exactly who I don't want to be, right? I was just reading how before the crucifixion, Jesus asked God that if it was his will that he would take this cup from him. He asked several times, not once. He asked over and over. And so even Jesus, with his relationship with his Father, is double checking. Is this what you're asking of me? I'm going to do it. But that doesn't mean we don't question it sometimes in distrust.
In one of our other episodes, we talked about how we don't like to always turn things back around on us when we're talking to other people because we don't want to sound self absorbed. What you're saying here about you don't want to share too much and be labeled as negative or be a drain on others, God is always up for that. We can always talk to God no matter what, no matter how down we are, no matter how draining it would be to a human. It's not to God. He knows our hearts anyway. And he wants us to choose to bring him in and have that relationship with him and share our heart with him and freely give it over to him. And it's amazing how hard it is to do that for everyone. And it was for me. I think it goes back to that pride or letting go that control. But that's literally it. Just being able to give it all over to him freely. Whereas we feel like we can't do that with humans, and we can't. Somebody would be like, ugh, so tired of your story. I don't want to hear all that.
Choose and move, girl.
Yeah, exactly. But not God. He's there faithfully asking us to do it if we just will.
Well, and not only that, he's also been through everything. So when I think of the biggest betrayal of my life or being betrayed by someone, he's like, I know. One of my disciples did that. And I only chose 12 of them, and one of my disciples did that. It's pretty crazy. I can't think of one thing that he can't relate to.
Right. Jesus went through it all in his time here on earth, and the ultimate betrayal, which was going to the cross.
Have you ever been in this situation? Another reason that I might not trust God and not do the daily bread thing, I might go into worry, is because I know that my greatest growth comes in my suffering. I don't want to suffer, and I'm quite sure Jesus didn't want to get nailed to a cross. And he did it anyways for us. And ones that hated and betrayed him, talking about Judas, he still did it. I don't want to suffer or go through an ego death again. That's why I start stressing about tomorrow and getting out of today only, right? That's when I future trip and toil and worry. And then sometimes he doesn't answer answer my prayers, or he does, and I have tremendous loss to get those answers. I know when I was praying in 2018 for safety, peace, cherishing love, protection, provision, and more, I lost nearly everything. I lost all the things that were definitely not what my deepest prayers were requesting. In fact, he actually answered all of my prayers.
Probably by stripping away the things that didn't matter, right? Not only does God give us our daily bread in terms of physical things, but I think it also means spiritually. He's going to give us exactly what we need spiritually to keep growing and to be fed if we ask for it, if we're open to it. And that's kind of what you were saying. You're praying for that peace and that clarity and understanding. And God's going to give it to us day by day if we're just faithful. And again, don't worry about the future. God's going to help us grow and help us understand. It may not be how we want it to be done.
No.
It may not be how we envision it.
It's never going to be how you want it.
Right.
It's so crazy. It's like we need to go ahead and give up that expectation and stop resisting it. And the crazy part is suffering is only in the worrying. That's our thinking about it and creating all these scenarios that 95% of them will never happen. Well, what if this happens? What if, we talked about the what if t-shirt. Already what if the whole day? 90% of those things aren't going to happen. And we created the suffering in our bodies because we chose to go outside of today and the daily bread.
I think there could also be suffering though in we're so worried about something, so we're going to force something to come to fruition, and then we're suffering in those circumstances because it's outside of will.
That's the worst too. When you deep down you're out of integrity and you push that through, and now you got to live with that.
So here's an example. This couple wanted to relocate to a different state because they had family there, and so they felt like that's where they needed to be. So rather than waiting for both of them to find positions and do it jointly, kind of push things forward, one took a job position, moved early, set up house without the other one. And the plan all along was, okay, well, the other one will come later and everything will be fine. Once they were in that position, it was total misery, total loneliness, unhappiness, feeling like they'd made a terrible decision. What did I do? That feeling of just regret, because being so worried about the future and trying to make things fall in place the way you think they should created a miserable situation. Now, in that situation, the person moved back, and then about a year later, everything unfolded naturally and they ended up in that state. But it wasn't on their own timing.
So when we try and jump ahead of his timing, it doesn't mean they heard incorrectly on the call. It's just they started pushing through out of worry. And then all of a sudden there's tons of resistance, right?
Yep.
Because now you're going outside of God. He's like, oh, you got this? Okay, cool. Let's see what you can do with it. He's like, I'll be right here.
And then there's a lot of emotional suffering around that outcome.
And I think it's probably in one of my devotionals. It's kind of a story of like, yeah, you chose the mountain. I had a path that was going around the mountain, but you chose to make it incredibly hard and grueling because that's what you think is the right way. It doesn't have to be that way. And we've talked about that. It does not have to be that way.
Instead of worrying about the future and making decisions that we feel are going to make the future easier, just make the decisions today that we feel God is calling us to make. And that will make the future happen that He's wanting.
Yes, I have really gotten that down in the last year. I've been self-employed a very long time, so I have a huge trust for financial provision and projects. I've seen tons of money come in just out of the blue. So I have a high faith level for that. But I've really gotten into the idea if I spend my morning with him, he can make things happen in an hour. I don't have to trudge through it for 8 hours to feel like I'm somebody or that I'm doing enough work. And I just never have that stress of striving, pounding the pavement. I just changed a lot in me of just, hey, what are we doing today? This has been a brave thing to share our intimate relationships with God, because I don't know that any of my friends know this about me, how I work with God. And it's super intimate and it feels a little risky, but I want people to think outside the box, that He really does want to be a part of every aspect of your day. So it's like, okay, well, I time chunk my day now. This is our quiet time. Now what? Oh, what do you feel like doing? I actually feel like exercising. Okay, let's get your physical part done. Let's do that. Oh, I feel like reading. Okay, then I can sit down. I'm a night person. And by 4 o'clock, I can rock out a huge project in like an hour and a half.
Well, I commend you for sharing such detailed information about your relationship. And I do think people will find it useful and insightful. Probably a lot of our listeners have their own relationships where they do the same things, and people
Yeah.
don't. It's probably very enlightening to hear. Similarly, there are days where I just feel zapped and I'm like, okay, God, I have these meetings in front of me and I don't know if I can do them. And it's amazing how sometimes just meetings will fall off my calendar. I always attribute it back to God, thank you. You knew what I could handle today and you knew what I couldn't. Thank you for opening up my calendar.
Yeah.
Little things.
And we've talked about that too. If you're still in the people pleaser mode, you're saying yes to all these things that probably aren't his will. And so if you're in the position that Christy's talking about and you're just slammed every single day, time to look at your calendar. If you're striving and in pain and struggling and worrying, you're probably not in God's will, period.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's look at that.
Recognizing that and just what I'm saying, that like, hey, God, I'm to my limit.
Yes.
And I need you today to help and intervene. And
Yeah.
God's like, I got you.
Yes.
There's another example. Gosh, this one sounds a little bizarre, but when I was pregnant with my younger daughter, my second child, I was at work and 9 months pregnant. It was actually the day before her due date. I was dreading this call that I had coming up because I had to deliver some really bad news to a really great person. And yeah, I just really didn't feel up for it. And I remember just praying, God, if for any reason you want to like get me out of this, I'm totally on board with that. I kid you not, Amanda, my water broke at work about an hour before that call. And I had to get myself to the hospital. And my daughter was born the next day on her due date in the wee hours of the morning. I always looked at that moment because I remember praying that prayer. I truly believe God was part of it. Now, whether that conversation might have taken too much of an emotional toll on me at 9 months pregnant, and he's like, okay, let's do this. You don't need to have that conversation today. I don't know.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, my water broke and I did not have that conversation.
I love it. I mean, those are the things that build our faith.
Yeah.
He actually cares about the details of our life. The worthiness piece of him not caring about anything except the big subjects in our life is so false.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it says in the Bible, he's numbered the hairs on your head. He stitched you in your mother's womb. Like he created you in your mother's womb. He knows every detail about you. He knows every gift. He knows everything you're lying about, cheating, stealing, all of it. He just knows all of it and he still loves you and he wants to talk to you about all of it.
Going back to the manna story, he knew exactly how much each person needed.
Yeah. The question is, can I truly sit back and take today as it comes and trust that he will give me strength to move through each thing with grace and love? Not if I don't trust him. The trust is the major component. And how do you build trust? You do it with time, effort, like Christy was saying, the faith building stories where you know he intervened, and stacking miracles on top of miracles and answers on answers.
Well, you made a good point. Like you often say that the ranch story built your faith to where you have faith to believe in big dreams today. And I think maybe that story about going into labor built my faith that now today I can say, God, today looks overwhelming.
Yes.
And I know he can and will do something.
Yeah. He could have just given you a ton of energy and you had a great conversation.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, if it is your will for me to have this day to day, I'm totally up for that. Just please change my heart around it. Make me excited for it.
Yes.
Take it on.
That reminds me of the scripture. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. And so again, going back to, we talked about this last week, if you're not secure in your decision and grounded in your decision, then you are double-minded, which means you are going for this and you're going for that. That's the same thing that we're talking about with daily manna. It's like, if you're double-minded about your day, then it's probably not going to go that great. So the goal is to not be double-minded, is to get back into, do I trust him or not? If I'm double-minded about my trust in him, then that's what I need to work on. By the way, if you don't have the ability to trust God, then you won't have it to trust yourself either. And therefore, trusting others is impossible. And that is the mic drop for that one.
Yeah. That's great. Trust is huge in all of our relationships, but it starts with our relationship with God, just like everything does, which is something that we learn, right? That comes through experience and growth in our walk with Him and in our faith.
Yeah, suffering, your testimony, all of it.
Making the wrong choices and suffering the consequences.
And it's still okay. He knows you're going to mess up 1,000 times in your lifetime. And he's still right there going, okay, you ready for me to lead? Or did you want to just keep running down this path?
Or hear the same messages 1,000 times. He knows eventually when and exactly when you're going to listen.
What's that meme that says God already calculated in your stupidity?
He's already factored that in.
Yeah, he's factored in your stupidity. So just keep going.
Yeah, I think this was a great conversation. Let's talk about some questions to reflect on this week. First of all, where in your life are you still trying to store the manna to hold on to control when God asked you to trust Him daily? I just have to say, I love that one. Store the manna. That's going to be popping up for me throughout each day now. Am I trying to store the manna?
You guys, and we don't mean He doesn't want you to have a savings account. Still make quality decisions daily for different things.
But the other thing too, when I think about storing the manna, you've said before that you like to give these visuals that really stick, that are not so appealing to think about.
Yeah.
I'm going to be thinking about the worms and the stench of the manna every time.
Well, and that's the smell of distrust. That's probably what it smells like when we're not trusting Him at all.
Yeah. And the smell of potential misery, right? Like we were talking about, just that emotional brokenness.
Yeah. Like the story you shared, the couple, they just created a big stenchy mess.
Loneliness, despair,
Yeah,
regret, all of those things that just stink.
Oh, but also an important thing to remember about that is it creates distrust that you heard correctly when you step in front of God.
It's true. You're not stacking at that point. You're taking away the building blocks of trust.
Exactly. Yeah. Your worry is taking a withdrawal on your trust.
That's a good way to look at it. It's another mic drop. Dropping a lot of mics today.
We like to drop the mics.
Okay. Next on the reflection questions, when has God shown up for you just in time? And did you take the time to remember and stack that moment as evidence for trust? So exactly what we were saying, not making the withdrawals, but doing the opposite and adding to your pile. And then the last one, what would it look like for you to surrender one fear this week and let God prove Himself faithful today?
Oh boy. I hope you guys dig into these questions because they are so powerful. And if you haven't figured it out, I'm a huge journaler and He answers in my journals. So it's these kind of questions you sit on, think about them, write about them, and you will get answers.
And that last one, I mean, just like the stories or examples that I shared, it could be something that's kind of small. And you did too. It could be something just in your day to day that other people would think, really, you're going to take that to God? Try it. Try it and see how He answers you.
It's actually a beautiful adventure, honestly, to just do daily with God.
And not try to control it.
It's so simple. That's where peace is. There's no chaos. There's no judgment when you're truly at peace with what we're doing today. It sounds so crazy to say sentences like that, and I don't care anymore. You can call me crazy because this is the most peace I've ever had in my life.
And I think that's what He's asking us to do. Each day, there's enough to worry about. There are a lot of things. Some are smaller, some are bigger, but there's plenty in one day to take to God, get His help with, and that's what He is asking us to do.
And He's like, I got that. That's Wednesday's problem.
Yeah, He's like, don't bring me tomorrow's, next week, next year's. Let's talk about today, and I want to help you with it.
Yeah, just give it up. Give up the toiling and the worrying. It really matters.
I have loved this discussion. I hope everyone listening has gotten a lot out of it too.
Yeah, have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. We know your time is valuable, and we hope you have a phenomenal week.
Until our next episode, find more content and social links at stillwithpurpose.com.